have a good core here so we can.
I'll pretend to act surprised. I don't know about that. I pretended to act surprised on
Pretty much. Which was just she left. Yeah, she left pretty close to
See, I came late. Is there hope for me? I knew you were going to say that. That's right. You know that one? I missed that part.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Camp Common Prayer. It is with great joy that we are here in this space of worship to talk and reflect on camp life and worshiping in the light. We believe that camp offers a powerful perspective on how we live our lives, and living and working at camps has certainly had this influence on us. To us, the topic of light is deeply rooted in camp, living, learning, and loving in the light of God and with the light within each of us.
Let's start from the beginning. I was only 2 years old and Anna was just born when our dad took his first job at a camp called Camp Webb. 20 years and 6 camps later, camping ministries is still flowing through our veins. I know that it flows through the veins of Ann and Billy as well, as they have each worked at and love camp very much. There's a certain magic to camp, a magic that some of you may have experienced at various camps as well. However, this magic is not some entity floating off in the abyss somewhere. We have the ability to create and nurture it in ourselves, in our community, and in our God. Welcome.
Now, a big part of camp is participating in singing and worshiping with each other and enjoying the joys of the talents and the voice that each of us has. So, what we're going to do today is do a call and response song all together. So I'd love for you to stand up and participate with me. Feel free to move around when this is going on too. It's encouraged. So what I want you to do is start snapping your fingers with me to the beat. You'll respond to the beat. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. Up above my head, I hear music in the air. And I really do believe that there's a heaven somewhere. Oh yes, I really do believe that there's a heaven somewhere. Up above my head, I hear praying in the air. Up above my head, I hear praying in the air. And I really do believe that there's a heaven somewhere. Oh yes, I really do believe that there's a heaven somewhere. Up above my head, I hear silence in the air. Up above my head, I hear silence in the air. And I really do believe that there's a heaven somewhere. Oh yes, I really do believe that there's a heaven somewhere.
A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on a lampstand, it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your God in heaven.
I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. Many of you may know this quote by Henry David Thoreau, a quote that is foundational in my life as a young adult and as a camp counselor. Thoreau speaks not only to the peaceful majesty of the woods, but also to what I interpret as the Spirit of God in the woods, both which can be deeply ingrained in the human spirit itself. I've spent every summer of my life since I was 2 years old living in the woods at camps, as my dad was a camp director at various camps, and then I was a camp counselor for 3 summers at a camp called Imago Dei Village. Now, what does the phrase Imago Dei mean in Latin? What does it mean in Latin? Imago Dei. Yes, image of God. Excellent. I never really thought about the meaning of this name as a child when my family attended summer camp at Imago Dei Village. However, while living and working at camp over the years, I have come to see how camp is truly in the image of God, through the woods, through the ministry done with and for children, and finding and sharing one's light in a safe community. A common phrase that circulates in camp circles is, "Camp does kids a world of good." So camp is good for kids, but why exactly? Why is camp good for kids? For one, camps enable kids to get outside and get to know nature. With the rapid rise of various types of technology in today's American society, kids play outside less and stare at screens much more than when some of you out there were kids. So even though screens can be incredibly helpful for busy parents at times, there are a rising number of children and even young adults who experience nature deficiency disorder. According to John Hayes of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, quote, "While no one's suggesting the trend isn't reversible, some in government and outdoor groups voice concern about the long-term developmental, social, and financial impact of a condition that one author has dubbed nature deficient disorder. Symptoms include 80% of children under age 2 and more than 60% of children ages 2 to 5 do not have any access to daily outdoor play. The average American child watches TV or plays computer games 6 hours per day, 6 hours per day, twice the yearly hours spent in school. State parks and the National Park Service report a 10% to 20% drop in visitation. I say kids need less screen and more green. Next, the aspect of living, learning, and loving in nature at camps enables children to better visualize God's natural creations. That there's much more to creation in this world than our bodies. That we can experience God through the trees. That we must care for our natural resources. As specified by Crossways Camping Ministries, the organizational umbrella through which Imago Dei and 3 other camping sites are run, Crossways teaches all who come to one of the camps about stewardship in life, the creation we have been given, service to those not as fortunate as we, and doing the work of God through sharing our resources. Lastly, if a camp is religiously affiliated, there is certainly more intentional opportunity for children to dive into their faith with camping ministries. Children can do so at camps such as Imago Dei Village through morning worships, Bible studies, songs, devotions, and campfires. Now, I find that this is not unlike many of the practices of the St. Norbert College community. Meals in the Caf, community living, natural campus beauty, common prayers, recreational activities, and church services right here every Sunday. I believe that children's concepts of faith in God can be underestimated, and many religious camps can give children the opportunity to discuss, question, and praise God. Camp can be a safe haven in which to do this. Camp can also be a safe community in which to find and share one's light, and the light of God at that. To be frank, sometimes I totally feel like a kid myself at camp, which I love and which totally speaks to the joy of sharing one's light. To share one's light in means other than Facebook, MySpace, and YouTube. To find the light while tromping through looming pine trees. To worship in the light of God. My dad always used to say that camp is like an alter reality, but a reality nonetheless. A reality that should be dispersed into society for the sake of our children. I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life, and see if I could not learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived.
Remembering the sights, sounds, and smells of being deep in nature, I have many memories of the times I've had camping. It is this light that we speak about today that I have been able to see both as a camper and later as a counselor. Growing into the role of leading with this light, creating opportunities to help young children grow personally, socially, and spiritually, I have been changed. The simplicity of life found while camping, separate from living 24 hours a day connected to a cell phone, is something truly beautiful. Today I pray that not only can we find moments like this, but that we can take personally the call to lead with a degree of simplicity and help create spaces for friends to grow and enjoy one another's company.
Psalm 119, verses 105 through 107. Your light is a lamp unto my feet, and a light for my path. I have not taken an oath and confirmed it, that I will follow your righteous laws. I have suffered much. Preserve my life, O Lord, according to your word.
I don't own a whole lot of religious items. I have the odd pastel-colored rosary from my dad, or my Bible from confirmation, some really cool postcards from a monastery in Germany, and a lucky little plastic baby Jesus I found in the Mardi Gras cake at work in LSE. But it's mostly art and posters and pictures that litter the walls of my dorm, as my roommate Katie can tell you. The exception to this rule is this. A year ago, my mom gave me this plaque, which says, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path." It hangs on one of those little 3M plastic hooks in a space all of its own in my dorm room, and I see it every day. My guess, by the look of it, is that my mom got it from a dollar store. Or from Target. Not very expensive, but very valuable to me. The verse that Anne just read from the Psalms, more than most other Bible verses or secular quotes that I've found, touches me deeply on many levels and has a complex meaning for my life. This part of Psalm 119 is so familiar to me because of that song, which we will soon sing, that I learned at camp. It was a tune that I knew well as the daughter of a camp director and attendee of many weeks of family camp at Imago Dei. Growing up, camp served as a place for me to explore my spirituality and be embraced by a community. I was free to talk about God in my cabin groups, and I thought that the camp worship seemed really fun and energizing and meaningful. I liked singing graces before meals, and I came to learn many prayers and verses through songs, skits, and Bible studies. It continues to surprise me when I read the Bible for a religious studies class and find that I already know the verse that I'm reading because I can sing it. It was probably through living at camp and attending camp, more than any formal church or youth group experience that I had, that I came to know what the Word of God was. Camp formed this bridge between church life and real life. I saw normal events as things that related to being at camp and related to God, related to some skit or group building activity. How wonderful it was to do a devotion in the woods under a starlit sky, or to learn leadership on the low ropes course in the middle of the woods. I saw my life through the lens of camp, and thus the lens of community and spirituality, and a whole heck of a lot of fun. At that point, it seemed that God's word was a light unto my path, helping me process and understand and relate to the things that I encountered. But not everyone has camp, and summers end and your counselors go back to college, and everyday life is not starlit skies and long talks about religion or singing songs about the book of Ephesians. What happens then? The light that we feel from the Lord might seem dimmer when it's not kindled often, like it is in an environment like camp or retreat. It is at this point that we can take a step back and look at what we do have, that we can see God in other people who guide us along the way. In the middle of winter, when it's hard to access what it feels like to sing around a campfire or do Bible study on the boathouse, someone shovels your sidewalk. And you see that they are living out that camp song that you learned about being kind to another person. During the passing of peace in church, someone hugs you, and you think about the connection you feel to others in your camp community. At work, you're at a meeting that's productive and cooperative, and it brings you back to those group building games from camp. Or finally, on a service trip or volunteer day, you see how what you do makes a difference. All of these things have happened to me, and I feel camp in others. I feel God in others. We can be lamps unto each other's feet and light the paths of those that we surround ourselves with. We can provide guidance to each other like God or a higher power provides guidance to us. Last summer, for the first time, I got to be a counselor at camp, the one that Emily mentioned before, Imago Dei. And I'm going back again this summer. My contract's in the mail. Now, I'm the one that gets to teach the songs, facilitate the group building, and lead the Bible studies. To be honest, this freaked me out at first. And it's hard work. But what comforts me and urges me on is that now I am being a light for these youth. Because yes, some of their paths do seem dark, and they need someone to guide them and show them that God is guiding them too. I'd like to think that 20-year-old Anna understands this psalm a little more than 10-year-old Wild Child Camp Anna did way back when. But I also know I still have my own long and winding path before me, lit by the presence of my family, my friends, and the word and teaching of God. On the last night of each camper week at Imago Dei, when everyone is tired, sunburnt, and burnt out, we have a tradition called the light service. The whole camp processes from the boathouse to the chapel, and everyone receives a candle upon entering, like all of you did. The space is dark. The particulars of the service are different each week and each year, but at the end, one candle is lit at the front of the chapel. Each of the counselors comes up and lights their own candle and brings it back to the pews. From there, the campers pass the flame on to each other until the chapel that was once dim is flooded with pinpricks of candlelight held by each person. In the glow of the fire, the children are reminded that we too can pass on guidance and light to each other, and we can collectively create a great light where there was once darkness. I invite you now to take your candles and pass the flame to your neighbors as we sing this coming song, and we fill the space with light. As we sing the song in your programs and the light spreads, think about a time in your life when your path seemed dark and unknown. Perhaps you felt alone or stressed or sad. Who or what served as a lamp for you, preventing you from tripping and falling? Perhaps it was a Bible verse or going to church. Perhaps it was your parents or a professor or a coworker. Think about them. How do you see God in them? And how can you pass on that light? You may blow out your candles at the end of the song.
Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. When I feel afraid, think I've lost my way, beside me. Nothing will I fear as long as you are near. You are near me to the end. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I will not forget your love for me, and yet my heart forever is wandering. Jesus, be my guide, hold me to your side. I will love you to the end. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Nothing will I fear as long as you are near. You are near me to the end. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And a light unto my path. You're the light unto my path.
Fire is a light that is ever-changing. Most commonly, it starts with a small flame and spreads to light a beautiful campfire, providing warmth, dreams, nourishment, and music to those gathered around. However, the fire does not burn endlessly. It needs the support of additional logs. As we gather today, please help this moment be the flame to light the fire, or the log, so we can grow and continue to keep our fire blazing.
We would like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy advisement day to worship and reflect with us this morning. Out in the lobby, there are s'mores treats. Yes, I said it, s'mores treats, because we don't have a fire, obviously, we don't have sticks, for you to enjoy and consume. They're courtesy of the Women's Center staff. Please put your candles back in the boxes provided at the exits. As you go forth and continue on your own paths, may you recognize the guidance that others have supported or provided. May you feel and appreciate the support and beauty of this campus community, and may you serve as a source of light. This worship has ended. Let the service begin. Go in peace.
We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God. We are dancing. We are dancing in the light of God. 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 We are dancing, dancing, we are dancing, dancing, we are dancing in the light of God. We are dancing, dancing, we are dancing, dancing, we are dancing in the light of God. We are singing. We are singing in the light of God. 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 We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the light of God. We are singing, singing, we are singing, singing, we are singing in the light of God. We are praying.